So Lou,
Yes, sir.
the documents that are part of it and support it.
So there's so many. I mean, there that the main thing under NATO is that you have NATO, which is the overarching umbrella part of it. But then each individual country has to sign their own status of forces agreement and their own individual treaties in order for them to establish bases. So the United States has bases all across Europe, over in the UK, in Italy, in Germany, all over. They have bases in Poland, or they have a growing. They don't have an official base in Poland because that got shot down a few congressional sessions ago.
Right.
But but we have growing presence there. The main thing, though, is that each one of these has a separate treaty that operates and a separate status of forces agreement that operates in there, and that we are essentially there at the will of this of the home country. Unlike an embassy, where most people view it as like a base, you establish a base in a country. That's basically essentially like an embassy where it's U.S. grounds, and no, that's not it at all. That it is still run and operates under the home rule of that country. And then you actually have to get permission to launch operations out of that country. And that's where the tensions have come up recently about it, is where the US wanted to launch missions out of Italy, out of Spain, out of the UK to go over for Iran. And all these countries said, no, that we're not going to allow you to do that. And people are like, well, what the hell? These are our bases. Why can't we do that? And, I'll be honest with you. I was like, we should, why? But then when you look at it more, that's the reason why, is because the status forces, they could say, look, you're not going to do this. We're not going to allow you to. You do, and you do it at your own peril. Then that means that we may have to re-examine this issue. Put it in perspective, years ago, when there were some issues over in Japan, that Japan and U.S. had a big discussion, and there was almost a time where Japan almost kicked the United States out
I was
of.
just gonna say, I was on the tip of
Right.
my tongue, the whole base in
There you go.
Okinawa.
All that's wrong with it.
No, it was, gosh, it was what, 8-10 years ago now. We've had a base in Okinawa since the end of World War II, and it's one of our largest bases in Asia. And evidently there had been, and I hope that it has died down, but I don't know that, there had been growing tensions between the local population and the GIs, who, depending on who you listen to at different times, when they went off base, they would impose their own thought processes and perhaps some drunken thought processes on the locals, and the locals didn't appreciate it. It was very different cultural norms, lots of tension. There was an issue with, if I remember correctly, with regard to one, I think it was a Marine who was alleged to have raped a girl,
Right.
a local,
Yep.
and that anyway, it ripped the Band-Aid off of a lot of other festering things. And Japan was at that time threatening to have the base closed down. It's on our soil. It's not your base. It's our base we're letting you have use of under this, as Lou said, a contractual agreement, a separate treaty, unlike an embassy, which is deemed to be part of the country. So if we have an American embassy in Japan, the Japanese can't just go into it. It's deemed to be part of the United States. Whereas the bases, as Lou said, because it's a separate treaty, no.
And so, there's so many different treaties. I mean, you have the Spain agreement, you have the Italy bilateral infrastructure agreement, you have the Germany supplemental agreement, the UK Churchill-Truman agreement, going that far back. There's so many different ones where we're just going to put them in the post, and that way you can take a look at them and see what the language is for each of them. But they all rely upon the status of forces agreement. You don't have that agreement, then that means that you're not operating there.